$500 million investment could be coming to a grinding halt off the coast of Connecticut. Ørsted, one of the major partners at a huge offshore wind project based in the Connecticut State Pier, says they're concerned about how much it's costing them, how long it's taking, and they're hinting about possibly walking away from the deal. Joining me now is Senator Brian Fazio, Republican from Greenwich. Good to see you, Mr. Fazio.
Good to be back, Mike.
So you're on the Energy and Technology Committee. What is your take on the recent CEO comments of Ørsted? What do you think about it?
Well, obviously, it's discouraging. Already, these contracts put a very high rate of electricity on the backs of consumers in Connecticut, orders of magnitude 3 times higher than what consumers are paying in the regular market for electricity. So I think the rates that we're contracting at with the offshore wind developers are high enough already, and I would view it extraordinarily as an extraordinarily disappointing development if there was an effort to renegotiate those contracts at a higher rate when we're already paying 3 times more the market rate for electricity in these potential offshore wind contracts.
His comments included, well, the cost of trying to borrow money right now is super expensive. Supply chain issues. That's why. Do you think this is saber rattling, just trying to get more tax money out of Connecticut to try to help subsidize this project even more? Is that why they're doing it, do you think?
I think to some extent it's a negotiation, but there's also real cost concerns underlying. I mean, as a region, we went so enthusiastically with, I think, some recklessness at the development of these offshore wind farms that that will cost a lot, but will cost even more than we had anticipated. And all those costs, not including even the cost of the infrastructure, the state pier is 3 times over estimates. The infrastructure, which hasn't even been accounted for, that's going to go into our electricity bills as well. We did not approach this issue as carefully as a region as I think we should have. And if you think your electricity bill is too expensive now, just wait 10 years down the road when you're paying for all this, not only in your electricity bills, but also in your taxes.
So the state pier, as you mentioned, you know, the wind turbines are going to be based there. The big parts are going to come in to build them. We're going to be a big part of constructing these turbines. But as you said, we're hundreds of millions over budget, 3 times over budget, and they keep continuing to ask more. Are we in too deep to back out now? Should there be a plan B if Ørsted walks away? I mean, what if they do walk away?
You know, we do have to have a reservation price. There has to be a point at which we say sunk costs are sunk and too much is too much. Again, these wind contracts were inked at around $100 per megawatt hour. Contrast that with the PPA that we have with the Millstone power plant at $50 per megawatt hour, and the general market, which is probably $30 or $40 per megawatt hour. So renegotiating them to 12 or 14 cents, I don't think that's acceptable to ratepayers. We can generate electricity at cheaper than we're already contracted with Ørsted at, so the idea of renegotiating them far upwards, I don't think is acceptable. I understand that there's potential consequences of that, but I just can't imagine any business which would honestly say to itself, we're going to pay 3 or 4 times more for a product than we can get it in the open market. That's just, I don't think, acceptable to ratepayers.
Does part of the equation have to be, since Governor Lamont has been in office, there has been a deal renegotiated with Millstone, the nuclear power plant. Does that need to be revisited again in case this wind farm project ends up going 10, 15 more years? Does that have to be in the mix, do you think?
Listen, regionally, the nuclear capacity that we have in New Hampshire, in Connecticut, needs to stay online. It's 0 carbon. It's more affordable than basically all other forms of 0 carbon electricity that we have in the region. I think that the Lamont administration has dealt with the Millstone power plant in a responsible and wise fashion, and I'm confident they'll continue to do so. I don't always agree with their energy policy decisions, but on that front, I think they've done a good job.
Now, this is a regional thing, right? So Massachusetts and Rhode Island are involved as well. What are you hearing from them? Originally, that was where some of the scuttlebutt started. I heard that they were thinking about backing out of Massachusetts or backing out of their agreement with Rhode Island. Are you hearing things from other lawmakers in other states on this? Because it's a partnership, right?
Yes, and listen, the developments have been negative in New Jersey, in New York, and in Massachusetts already with renegotiations of existing contracts. I think it's unfortunate that there's so much opacity in this market because we don't know the terms of the other contracts. We don't know what's being renegotiated. There was a study that came out from New York recently that estimated that what these wind developers are asking for is a 50% increase in the price. I mean, again, these are for-profit companies.
Right.
It's already a rate that the ratepayers are going to be expected to pay an order of magnitude 3 times higher than what they're normally paying for electricity. So it's a major concern, and I hope that other states kind of hold strong in negotiations as well in the interest not only of their customers but also ours.
Do they sign, to your knowledge, non-disclosures? Can't we just ask New York, say, hey, what did you renegotiate? Or are they not allowed to say? Do you know?
I'm not exactly certain. I assume that there's a real reason for it. But, we saw what happened in New Jersey where the taxpayers or the ratepayers were ultimately asked to give a $1 billion bailout to the offshore wind development. Again, I don't think that type of scenario would be met favorably with at least my side of the aisle in the legislature.
Senator Fazio, we got to leave it there. Thanks.